And welcome to the Gaming Halls of Rivalries. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, with the one and only Curtis Scism.
Hello.
We gotta get you.
Gotta get me some coffee, man.
Right. Because we film this. We basically record all this stuff like in the mornings for our show and whatnot because it's the best time, you know. So we got the rest of the day to do stuff what we need to do, and do more research for the show. So on this episode, we're going to more of a horrifying kind of setting. Two characters that horrify us when we were little. Some of us were puzzled by these characters. Some of us were scared of these characters. Some of these characters have lived on even through the movies. And they're still going per se in some kind of forms and everything like that. One series is still going but still trying to find itself. And another series just kind of disappeared and we don't know where it's going. So we can't wait to talk about what the future of these series are going to be. But these two characters are the Tyrants and the Pyramid Heads.
Yes.
And Tyrants are from Resident Evil's era, and then you have your Pyramid Head from the Silent Hill games. So, for people that don't know, Resident Evil is a horror game. It's probably one of the very first real horror games on the PlayStation. I'm not saying that we didn't have horror games before that, but they didn't really kind of scared you.
This kind of really put them on the map, though.
Yeah.
Especially growing up.
Yeah, so like there was horrors, but it was kind of goofy horror. And here they were trying to really do a horror, like, you know, with the icky noises. You're alone in this place, you know. And Resident Evil was the first one to kind of break that barrier. I remember playing Resident Evil 2 more than anything else. And, you know, the pop-ups in there were scary, you know, from that one creature that, like, crawls around the walls with no face. He was, like, all red.
Like the stalker
Yeah.
thing.
You had the dogs. That the dogs were the worst. They even had creatures that were just so annoying, like the crows. Like anything in there you wouldn't think, like, that would hurt you, but they're there. Like, you know, you see a bird just, you know, picking food, and you walk by, and the crow attacks you. You're like, what the heck? You know? Because, like, it is a zombie game, but it's more than a zombie game. You know what I mean? Like, it's called Resident Evil because everything around you is evil. But we always think of it as it's a zombie game. And it could be. It could be. What's your take on it, Curtis?
The harmless things that look harmless, it's just funny imagining, well, inject it with the T virus. Your opinion of that's going to change on that.
Right.
I mean, oh, that's a cute little, mouse. It's like, oh, God.
Right? And so, but with all Resident Evil games and mostly all Silent Hill games, you'll probably end up with a partner or another person, but at the end of the day, you're mostly alone, trying to figure out what you need to do. And you'll encounter other characters that might assist you and help you out, but it's mostly you
alone.
Alone, and trying to figure out what is going on in this, you know, in this world that they are. I mean Silent Hill was one of those games where it was you in this whole town, and you had to figure out everything, and it was just it was basically being blindfolded. Compared to Resident Evil, you know, there were someone to interact. There was other stuff to work with.
Till you got separated. And
right.
Just, I can remember what few times I've had with Resident Evil. You get separated from your team, your stars team. And it's like, son of a bitch. Right. And because the one thing, too, we noticed is Resident Evil, you mostly play two stories from two characters' point of views. And in Silent Hill, is just basically you solo. And we also noticed that Silent Hill relies more on melee weapons than like ammunition. Firearms.
Yeah, there is. I'm not saying there's firearms, but they are useless. You know, melee weapons are the way to go for that game, and Resident Evil weapons is the way to go with that. You get rocket launchers, guns, grenades, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the most thing I think they do have in common, though, is their inventory, because their inventory is very, very small, and you have to be very selective, meaning like combine stuff together to make another available spot to find your stuff.
And it's tied into the gameplay, yes.
Exactly, and that was another thing that was horrifying, was like you had to pick and choose what's important to you going further on, and that includes like having key items in your slot that takes a spot.
Do I need ammo? Do I need this and stuff?
Right. And of course you have your infinity box, you know, the box that can hold like everything. The bad part is you have to go back to a certain box to get your stuff, because they didn't carry over the other stuff. But anyways, so Tyrants and Pyramid Heads, they were the most iconic ones because they were the ones that were the ones that you didn't know how to kill them. They were just there, but you mostly run away from them. That's basically what it was.
Yes.
You know, they were very unstoppable. 2, you never knew when they were going to come. They always come at a moment where you're struggling, and it's like you could be fighting a zombie and then the beast will come out and you're like, this is not the time, guy. Come back in 5 minutes, you know? So like, they're really good at making those characters come at the right time. I remember when I was watching my friend John Robles play Silent Hill 2, he was walking around this corner, and right when he walked around this corner, the Pyramid Head was right behind him.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't one of those like he was following him the whole time. It was just, they just pop up when they want to pop up. And we see these evolution of these characters grow through the whole series. I remember with Pyramid Head, which we'll probably get later on into that, is, you know, Pyramid Head was a skinny person, a skinny being, and it became a massive, humongous person.
Yep.
And Tyrant, you meet one Tyrant, and then you find out there's many forms of Tyrants. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the Resident Evil's Tyrants. So, of course, if people didn't know, Resident Evil started out in 1996, and Tyrants are basically biological, engineer, undead, super soldiers, and they were created by the Umbrella Corporation. So people that don't know Umbrella Corporation, it's that logo that looks like, you know, looks like a peppermint but with sharp edges. That's an umbrella for people that don't know that. They were a corporation led by Wesker, and more people that we don't really know about. Wesker is that awesome, cool guy that always wears the glasses. All villains with glasses are, you know, that's how you know. It's the glasses.
It's the bad guy.
It's the glasses. The glasses do the work. They make them look cool. If you don't see the eyes, you know. So
well, you take the glasses off. Oh, that's a decent guy. That's a good guy. That Agent Smith guy's not bad. Glasses go up. Nope.
No.
Keeping my eyes on you.
You're going down. You're going down. And so, but that's where the T virus actually got its basically means. Like, T stands for tyrant. So that actually creates humans into tyrants, but it's not any humans. So like for you and I, Curtis, you know, if we're infected by it, there's a chance that it might not affect us. It might kill us, but it might not mutate us, because they said that it's really more for people that have a rare genetic makeup. So you have to be very special somehow. And they didn't really go into details like, you have to be this blood type or something like that. But it infects you where you will mutate into these beings. And the tyrant that we know of is, from the first one, is more of a very tall creature with huge hands. They're like claws. I want to estimate they're about maybe 7 feet tall. I want to say, give or take. I'm trying to remember exactly what they look like in the game. I want to say for people,
very imposing.
Yeah, I know they're bigger than an average person. An average person is about 5'6", 5'7". Yes. So they're bigger than that. And so, but we find out that from Resident Evil 0 that to make a T virus, they had to use a different kind of virus to create that. I don't really know the details on how that virus got created to help do that. They didn't really go into math about that. And the thing about Resident Evil 2 is I think there's a lot of notes in there that I think people tend to repass. So maybe there is more information. I just don't read it because, you know, I'm scared of my life. I'm trying to run. And so, but we find out that there's over 22 different tyrants in the Resident Evil series. The ones that we know of, I'll go into more familiar of. The first one that you ever meet in Resident Evil is actually T number 002, and that's the one that you see with the giant claws and everything like that. Now, for people that know Resident Evil 3, that's the Nemesis T type, and that's the one where he actually carries a rocket launcher everywhere. And for people that haven't played Resident Evil but seen the movies, Resident Evil 2, I believe is called Apocalypse or something like that. I forgot. But in Resident Evil 2, the movie with Mila Jovovich, there is that creature that runs around with the rocket launcher. That's the Nemesis. And so the Nemesis is, funny enough, is actually smaller than the original Tyrants, but they just pack a wall up. So think about that. Like, if you see that big creature, think of the consideration that that's the small version of a Tyrant. So maybe the Tyrant's a lot bigger than we think it, isn't it? You know what I mean? And so, and then going from there, there is one Tyrant from Code Veronica. This Tyrant actually gets affected. I mean, this woman gets infected by a new virus called Code Veronica T virus, and it actually gains her abilities to use psychic abilities, including pyrokinesis. So this virus that they keep evolving I think that they don't know what the side effects or what's going to do, because there's one that actually gives you, from Resident Evil Dead Aim, gives you ability to have bioelectric abilities. So like, it's crazy that they involved this virus, and instead of the strength and mutation, that it gives you way more abilities than you would never think it does. Because when we play these games, we're just thinking like, it's super strong, one strike and we're dead.
Yes.
But we never think of, oh great, you can set me on fire, you can probably lift me in the air, you can wield so many weapons. And in the recent, well, not recent, I think a couple years ago, they had one Resident Evil game called Resident Evil Raccoon City, and where your mercenaries going in to clean up the effect that happened in Resident Evil 2. They meet a tyrant that can wield multiple rocket launchers. And so like, these tyrants, as we notice, as they evolve, these different types of tyrants get smarter as they go. So the first tyrant you have is really an idiot that just attacks anything that's in his path. But later on, we realize that they get a lot smarter, and they can listen to orders, or sometimes they just know they take it in their own hands to do whatever they want. Maybe they are smart, but they still want to kill things. And so I remember when I first went against a tyrant, I just ran until I had to fight one. And it was a blessing in disguise that, you can kill these things. And it was awesome, because it was your final boss, and it was the most challenging one of something that you had to run away from. I know there's some games out there where you had to run away from a certain creature, only at the end it's time for you to finally fight it.
Yep.
And that's where, like, it gets kind of exciting, but at the same time, you knew it was coming. You had to, like, I had to fight you. But overall, there's not a lot of research about the tyrants, because tyrants, they're remembered because they're just carry over through the whole series. And tyrants are mutated of people. Some tyrants don't really have their own backstory or anything. They're just mutated of other humans, of what the virus does. So if anything, the virus is really more the star than the titan is. Yeah. And the origin of the virus is just a virus that they've been working on to create this apocalypse, to maybe further money for whatever they're going to do. There's not a lot of research about what Umbrella's corporation's goal is, and if there is, that's not our research, or that's not our goal of this episode. It's just really to tell you that these tyrants are really horrified creatures that carry themselves over the main of the series, and they have multiplied by many different forms and million abilities. And it'll be interesting later on in the show to talk about, like, what can we see what these tyrants doing in the future of this series. And so Curtis, what is any other takes you want to take on tyrants? Any opinions?
I'm gonna get into it later, but
okay,
just kind of to sum it up, that is the legacy of the tyrant, and I'll talk about this in the Pyramid Head, is this archetype of a character that you run from for the whole game, whether it's survival horror or more action based. It's alive and well. If you look at the Outlast games, the Chris Walker character from the first Outlast game, it's this big hulking juggernaut. You can't fight it. You just run from it the whole game. There's several times when you encounter him and you have to run and hide from him.
So you think the tyrants influenced that?
I think tyrants and Pyramid Heads influenced that kind of a game character.
Where it can't be killed. Your goal is just run away.
Is to run.
Okay. I can agree with that. And I can also agree with that. I think tyrants also influence the ability of having a creature evolve. And I can't really put my finger on it right now, but I think we've seen that not even in horror games, but more like action games, of a creature that doesn't talk, it just destroys things. And so, but it also carried over also into other games, like, Nemesis is a key character in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. We've seen tyrants we've seen these creatures carry over to, like, more like Easter eggs for other Capcom games and whatnot. So even in Marvel Capcom's 2, Jill actually summons the tyrants that come up and slaughter everybody and then disappears. And so they also influenced Wesker himself, because Wesker was infected by the T-virus himself, and he's the only one that can actually control and keep his body. Because if you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you can see that he has the ability for speed, he has the ability for strength. So this virus can evolve, and it goes from person to person. So Wesker, I think, is the actual perfect creature that they really want to do. They want to make a person that's super. Maybe that's what the virus is meant to do. Maybe that's it. Maybe Umbrella is trying to make it a virus.
A super soldier serum?
Basically. Basically to do that, but the side effect is maybe the human body cannot control everything, and hence maybe why you mutate. That could be a theory. And so, but with that, that's the end of our Tyrant one. And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the other side. The one that's more like that keeps himself from the shadows and likes to come at the right time. And that's the Pyramid Heads. We'll be right back. Hey listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, aka your Endgame Boss. And I want to let you know that this is not the only show you can listen to. We got great shows like the Endgame Boss Podcast, the Gaming Hall of Rivalries, Bond Never Dies, and Area 44, and more to come. So if you enjoyed this show, make sure you follow and subscribe to the network so you're always updated with the newest episodes and update on any other news that happens in the Endgame Boss program. So, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. Hey, this is Jeremy Evans, the man behind the Endgame Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. But did you know I do my own show? Yeah, it's the Endgame Boss Podcast, a show where I challenge not only you, but myself on fun subjects in the gaming culture with fun guests. So come by and be challenged. Welcome back to part 2 of the show. I'm Jeremy Evans along with Scism, and we just informed you about a scary creature named the Tyrants, and now we are going into something more scarier, or saying, well, you pick what you decide. You know, I honestly think that the nurses are pretty scary in those games too, but we're going to be talking about the Pyramid Heads. So Curtis, take us away.
Pyramid Head first appeared in Silent Hills 2 in 2001. Ironically, I think that is the most memorable appearance that he's had.
Yeah.
Like, he's appeared in other games. I will get to that list, but you as a viewer, other games that Pyramid hasn't been in, your knee-jerk reaction is, oh, Silent Hill 2. And it's like, well, okay, there's a few more games.
I think it's also because I think Silent Hill was for the PlayStation, and since 2 was so big, Silent Hill 2 was is the first one on the PS2, so it's probably the most people remember.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Final Fantasy VII was for that series, like that knee jerk. Oh, I know that game, or
right.
It's that memorable title. It's the one that sold really well, and that got when it sells well, it gets word by mouth.
Right.
It's like Uncharted 2 was like that for Uncharted.
Yes,
a lot of people forgot. Well, there's Uncharted 1, and it's like, really? When did that come out?
Right, yeah.
I see all these commercials for too.
Yeah, I think it also goes by if the game does decent well, then there'll be more marketing for the sequel. So,
the other games he appeared in was Silent Hill Homecoming in 2008. In that game, he was known as the Boogeyman. The Silent Hill, the arcade game.
There was an arcade game?
Yes.
Huh.
And he was a boss battle.
Huh.
Silent Hill, the Escape,
like House of the Dead,
which was a mobile game. New International Track and Field for DS.
What does he play as?
He was a playable character.
Huh. That's something to run away from.
Highly deformed, but he was a playable character.
Huh.
That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Doing my research.
Is he supposed to chase you? Is that...
No, he's a participant.
Okay. Rock on.
Silent Hill Downpour in 2012. and Silent Hill Book of Memories 2012.
Okay.
And Silent Hill has been MIA since.
So basically, it never been in the other main entries. Never been in 3 and 4.
No.
That's interesting. Okay. And then the movies. Yeah.
And then the movies. Pyramid Head in the game, and I'm glad he brought up the movies, because in the movies he's this big muscular guy. Still very intimidating. I like the first appearance he does in 2 is it's a slender, pale guy with this pyramid head as a mask. It's like, oh, that's not too bad. It's just creepy like the other starved-ridden things in here. And then you see what's behind him. It's like, oh,
right?
Man.
I think it's always scary when someone's dragging something. I don't know why. I just think it's like, it's maybe it's scary because it's like, yeah, you know that once it picks it up, it's going to destroy you because how heavy it is, I guess. So, yeah.
The gameplay for Silent Hill has no shame in putting you in claustrophobic, darkly lit rooms and fighting this thing in the equivalent of a bedroom with a stairway that's blocked, by the way. There is a door, but it's locked. And you're just firing your way with a 9mm at this thing as it's stumbling across towards you. And the second it grabs you, it's over.
Like instant death?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And if it grabs you, it's instant death, and then it will cut you to do damage on your life meter. It's hard to describe because unlike the other protagonists or antagonists in the show, he is a silent character. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't really have much of a backstory. And Silent Hill was... Everything inside the town is a manifestation of one's guilt mentally. The main character of Silent Hill 2 was a man named James Sunderland. He gets a letter from his wife saying, hey, I'm in Silent Hill. Come and meet me and we can be together again. Problem is... the woman died 3 months ago. And that kicks off the game's story. When going back to the guilt, and how the town feeds off of it like a demon almost, is Pyramid Head is the manifestation of his desire to be punished or executed. James Sunderland's wife was terminally ill, and she had severe mood swings of, just kill me. I'm in so much pain. Please.
So are you saying that the pyramid only appears when we want him to appear then? Is that what you're saying? Like he only appears when he wants it to appear? Because of the guilt?
Yes.
Okay. Go on.
And then she'd switch back to, no, I don't want to die. It's fine. And she'd like get real angry too. And she'd have these severe mood swings, and he killed her out of mercy, but deep down, he just wanted to be free.
Okay. And
that guilt of it is that guilt of, I deserve to die for what I did to my wife.
Okay.
And we're getting into the design of the Pyramid Head. The character designer, the designer of the game, Mashiro Ito, he wanted to create a monster with a hidden face. Most of his early designs he was unhappy with because they resembled a human, just a human wearing a mask. Not too scary, just a guy in a mask. And then he finally dawned on him to draw, just change the mask up. Not a full mask, but this big shape, like a pyramid. And if you look at the design, and even the development team is quoted that he looks like a medieval executioner.
Yeah.
The black hooded guy with the axe, that pointy mask.
It looks like the helmet is way too big for a human to even like carry. It should be him dragging his head around everywhere, basically.
Yes. Also with Pyramid Head, you have 2 boss battles with him. One is a one-on-one battle. The final boss battle of Silent Hill 2, you fight 2 pyramid heads as if one was not enough. Yeah, see the design, if you do a Google Images search of pyramid head, very imposing with that triangular mask. Then you do a quick Google search of like a medieval executioner, and you can definitely see the kind of what the design team was talking about.
You know what's funny about Pyramid Head? I feel like that any gamer that this, like, let's pretend that this character didn't have a name, and you're trying to describe what this character looks like. I feel like Pyramid Head would be the answer you would say with fits the name. Like, dude, this creature, like he had a pyramid head. It was just like killing me everywhere. I feel like Pyramid Head is that common name that everybody would describe this character right off the bat without even trying. And I wonder if maybe that's what he got out of it too when he created him, like Pyramid Head, because I feel like that's what he'll be known for, like the guy with a pyramid head.
Yeah, like you could throw him in the Dynasty Warrior game even, and that would be the defining thing. Is like, well, it's a guy with a sword. Okay, there's several people with swords. Something else. He has a pyramid head. Oh, that guy. Yeah. That character. I know exactly who that is.
Yeah. And I think it's funny if you play that game for the first time and you're figuring out, okay, well, I see he's a pyramid, but what is his? I wonder what his real name is. And then you kind of look at it. I mean, look it up, and you're like, oh, his name is Pyramid Head. All right. Yep. Because sometimes, like for Tyrant, you're like this huge monster with claws. And you're like, oh, okay, I know your guy we're talking about. And then you look at him and you're like, oh, it's called Tyrant. But here it's Pyramid. It's like, oh, Pyramid. Huh. Isn't that kind of... all right. So, but anyways, back to you said you had to fight 2 pyramid heads. So, like, were they together as one, or were they... Okay.
On the screen at the same time.
Because I believe that in the video games, there's only one pyramid head through the whole game. There's not like... You see one, and then the next time you see another one, but you know that, oh, maybe there's multiple ones. You just don't see them all at once. But I guess there's one pyramid that just represents one in the whole game that just shows up. And then 2. So do you know the reason why there's 2 of them?
No, I do not.
Okay. I also noticed, like, from the movies, because you mentioned that the second one is based on because his wife died 3 years ago, and he feels very bad about it. And it's interesting how the movie portrays it, because in the first game, and I think the first movie relates to that, is a woman goes into the city called Silent Hill, and she can't make it back. Well, she makes it back home, but she cannot interact with her husband, because the Silent Hill basically takes you to another parallel dimension. And so when you go back, she can sit there by her husband, but she can't interact with him or anything like that. And her husband, I guess, goes to that town to find her then. So I'm guessing maybe that means that she died, and that's her ghost form probably. And so it's interesting, in the movie we get the second one going into that. By the way, there was never a second Silent Hill movie. Well, there was, but it's based on the third one, not the second one, where they interact with the first one and the third one together, because I think it's the whole family. Yes. That's basically what Silent Hill is. You had the mom go in, then you had the dad go in, and then the daughter goes in. And that's another interesting thing. It was more of a family figuring out what happened to one another.
Now, in the movie, it's implied that the pyramid head was the manifestation of the town's executioner.
Okay. But also, in the movies.
In the movies.
Okay, but in the game, it was more of a guilt.
It was more mental.
So the question is, can the things that you imagine become real in Silent Hill? Is that what we're saying too? So, like, you have this guilt. Do you actually create the pyramid head on you, or does pyramid just represents the town of, if you're feeling guilt, it comes? Now, for listeners, that might sound very confused, like, where is he going with this? But I guess my question is, it's like, is pyramid represent Silent Hill, or is that it's all in your mind?
I would like to think that every monster in that town is what you're bringing into the town.
Okay.
Mentally.
Okay.
Because the dead wife character, when James enters the town shortly after, he meets a woman who is a spitting image of his wife. His dead wife is named Mary. This woman is named Maria.
Okay.
Different haircut, same face. And he even makes a comment of like, my God, you could have passed as twins with my dead wife.
Okay.
And Maria is a manifestation of his memories of Mary.
Okay. And to tell you the truth, man, I think that's what makes that game stand out so much from Resident Evil, because the fact that, like, that town is scary because it messes with your mind. And basically too, you said, the character brings that stuff to the table. And that question is too, of all these other creatures that we seen, are those also creatures that people brought into that town too, and they just stay there? I know he didn't create those nurses. That had to be something from another person that probably went to Silent Hill, and they imagined that through their problems, and that just stays there. So I feel like too, whatever you guilt and create there, it stays there.
It stays there.
And then the next person comes in, just has to deal with people, everything that person left behind, plus in creating your own. So that's why, like, I think from 3, we meet Pyramid Head, or we see things that resemble Pyramid Heads,
yes,
or other stuff that manifests from other creatures that look like from the past. So that's, to me, that's way more scary than zombies and other creatures, because those are real, you kill them, they're gone. But these things are something that you kind of destroy, but they can reappear again, and that's more scarier because you can just lose your mind.
Going into how the town works is it looks like a normal ghost town, and then when the siren goes off, it transforms.
That's what was really cool about it.
That is the most piss your pants moment. Is just everything's fine in the game, then you hear and it's, oh my god, here we go again.
The movie did a great job with that, and it's sad that the games didn't have the
more of the
no, not more of. They just didn't have the ability to do that transition. Like Silent Hill 2, you hear a siren, you know that things are going to change, but you're not seeing the visual change of it. So it would have been really cool to see, that whole town just start chipping off like the second one did. I mean, the movie did. And so, but yeah, anything else to add to that?
No.
So what are the futures of these series of Silent Hill and that? Well,
one quick point I wanted to bring back up, and I had mentioned it. Even though both these characters really have very little dialogue, they're not main characters by any standpoint, but they stand out. The fear derived from this imposing character that stalks you throughout the game, regardless if it's a nemesis, tyrant, or a pyramid head, I think those are alive and well in horror games today. I mentioned Chris Walker from Outlast. He stalks the main character, the journalist, throughout the asylum. There is a character named Marta from Outlast 2. She also kind of stalks after the character in the second game. You can't kill it. You can't fight it. Your best option is to run. I'll even mention kind of the Wendigos from Until Dawn. They're very imposing. They're very fast. You can't really deal with them until later in the game. And just having this antagonist. When you think of an antagonist, you think you can go mano-a-mano with it. You can go stomp on a Goomba. You're not running from a Koopa or something. You're gonna fight Robotnik. These things, you don't really have a villain that chases you throughout the whole level.
Right. But I think I might have repeat this from the first part, but those Resident Evil and Silent Hill do a good job of showing you. And I think it's influenced from Evil Within. I think it's influenced by a lot of horror games as that.
What you can't bar to hit, or
well, no, not the bar. Well, you could say that, but it's more of running away is safer than taking it up front until you figure out what you have to do. A lot of people that go through those games, either it's like Amnesia, or those games where hiding is the premise.
Yes,
like Soma, like these are indie games where hiding is the way to win the game. Hiding and figuring out the problem, and then hide and figure out the problem. I think they show that too of, Resident Evil, when something's chasing after you, you leave that room and figure out what you got to do and then go back in that room, because at that time, those creatures couldn't follow you yet. But we learned that it's good to run away and think about how to defeat it instead of like, I have no choice, I have to defeat this. And that's a good lesson, because look, you can't defeat everything around you, so you need to figure out there's another way. Maybe weapons are not the answer. Maybe luring into a trap, or doing something else, or doing that, or just running away until you get yourself situated. Like if it's a mind game, maybe you need something to fix that mind. Maybe it's all in your head and you're trying to figure that why is that in your head, So I like the way they influence that. There's different ways to go through a horror game instead of just shooting whatever's in front of you.
Yes.
And so, yeah. But But the future of these characters, we've seen Resident Evil still carry on. Resident Evil 7 feels like a reboot. It's a continuation, but a reboot of the series. From a first person's kind of view, per se. And we continue on from there. But to me, I think Resident Evil should just go ahead and do a reboot. I think that saga is done. I think that we can continue the virus set thing, but let's just start over. Brand new characters, brand new story. Let's just go from there. We don't need any more connection with Leon and Jill and everything. I know they're iconic characters, and we love those characters so much, but the well is dry now to me. I think there's just not enough material anymore.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, besides Chris Redfield rescuing you at the end of 7, the game was doing just fine without almost any reference to Umbrella.
Right. There's no reason for those people there, and there's no reason for you to be connected to those characters anymore. They had their moments. Chris has been in through like 4. He's been there since the beginning. Leon's been there since the second one. Jill, Claire, they all met each other at one moment and continue on in their voyage and separate. The movies did all this, but it's time for new characters. It's time to see what else can they do to revolutionize this series in these things. These tyrants could become new beings. Let's put these off from tyrants and call them something else. Let's just bring something new to the table for this new generation of gaming. Like I said, I love Leon. Leon's my favorite character, but Leon, he's done to me. Let's keep those memories over there. Let's do brand new stories with new characters, and let's just, even if it's decided to be first person, I don't care. Let's just go somewhere new. What was your input on Resident Evil future? You think they should do something new, or should they continue on?
I'm gonna argue the point of continuing on.
Okay.
I think because they are such legacy characters. My biggest fear is that Capcom might go accidentally back down more the action route. And that was very frustrating for like going from 2 when I was as a kid to 6 where you're just firefighting everything. There was what was it? The Leon chapter was my favorite chapter in the 6.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Cuz that got back to the traditional.
Well, each group they did was different gameplay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Leon was more of that traditional. You remember, Resident Evil 5 was the Leon, not Leon, Chris's style. If you play with Chris, you're getting that Resident Evil 5 style.
You almost got a Battlefield feel for Chris's stuff.
Yeah. Now I'll put it like this too. For me, I believe that, when you go over 10 years with a series with the same characters, to me, it's more of like, okay, maybe it's time to start a reboot. Like, let's start something else. If you have something like that particular one, like they tried to do with Dante. Dante was very long, and then they tried to revamp that. I will accept that. If you want to keep these characters around, then let's reboot it and have these characters come in a different way. Like, I would play with Leon again, but show me a different way of Leon in a reboot style.
Do kind of like almost what they did with Kratos. Kratos was so different than God of War 3.
But also, but here's the thing though, like, Kratos is still continue on, but there's another character that's with him on this voyage.
Yes.
Now, if they did something like that, but have an old school, like an old veteran join them and try to show them the ways of this is how we take care of zombies and this evolution, I'm fine with that. Yep. I just want a new protagonist. Yeah. And they did that with 7, but he couldn't talk.
Yep.
And so that's the difference. Silent Hill, well, with the downfall of PT, which I have that on my PS4 still to this day, and you can't find it. You can't find it anywhere. That was a game that Kojima.
Your system's worth money, by the way.
I know, right?
With that file.
Right, I'm excited. Yeah. But like, have you ever played PT?
I've seen playthroughs of it.
Oh, okay.
I refuse to touch that. Oh, okay. 10-foot pole.
Okay. So, but it's basically playable teaser. That's what it means. But anyway, Del Toro, the guy that created Hellboy, Pacific Rim, him and Kojima were going to make this game together. This playable teaser ended up being a Resident Evil starring Norman Reedus, a guy from Boondock Saints.
Silent Hills, wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it a Silent Hills game?
Yeah, it was going to be. Okay. Yeah, it was called Silent Hill.
Evil.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say Silent Hill, guys. Sorry. It was supposed to be Silent Hill with the star Norman Reedus, and that's the guy from Boondock Saints and Your Walking Dead.
Yes.
And so, it sounded really cool, but some things happened and didn't work out. But like, I was excited for that because Silent Hill needs to come back because it's been gone for so long, and is this the perfect time to bring it back and just bring us back something brand new that hasn't been done before? Because Silent Hill was those people that were good at making you think something's there, but it's not there. And that's what we're missing into a lot of games. Like, we have a lot of more of, here he is, run away, go. But I miss that whole, is it really there or not there? Like,
yes.
And so, and Evil Within does that too. They do a good job of playing with your mind, but they're there still. Here, I want it more of, like, maybe I'm fighting a creature and then all of a sudden it disappears on me.
Yeah,
like,
you run, you get to a dead end, you turn around, and you've been running from nothing?
Right. Like, play more mind games with that. And Silent Hill, I hope it comes back. I hope someone, hope Konami kind of gets off their whatever chair they're on. It's not a high chair, I promise you that. But they need to get off whatever chair they're on and kind of do something with Silent Hill. Because, Metal Gear is not there anymore. It's running down the drain. And that and Silent Hill to me are their top tiers to me, in my opinion. But Silent Hill just needs to come back. I want to see the return to Pyramid Head in a different form. I want to see brand new creatures. I want that transition in Silent Hill where the whole city changed. I want to see that. I want to see a new form of Silent Hill. With the old technology that we have for the old consoles, the town looks small, but I think their vision is this is a bigger town than we think it is. I want to be able to access any place I want to and find notes left behind. I want to meet all other creatures. Hell, if we can make it where like Dark Souls, where Curtis, you could be playing Silent Hill the same I can play, but I could see you, but I can't really interact with you.
Oh,
like kind of like Silent Hill, like you are a ghost and you're not in my world.
Even like a Dead Space, what they did with the co-op on Dead Space 3. If you're not familiar, there was a co-op. You could co-op with the person on the couch or online, and I can't remember the character's name.
Isaac.
Thank God. Okay, so Isaac, he's gotten better from his touching the monolith. This other character, though, you go co-op with, has not. He's just now experiencing the visions, the horrific things, and there is times where Isaac is seeing nothing. Your partner is freaking out. You're like, oh my god, it's everywhere. We're surrounded, dude. What? I'm glad I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Right.
And going back to Jeremy's point, like, that would be really fun seeing the Silent Hill. Someone who's in Silent Hill as one co-op and the person is not. And you still have to work together.
Yeah.
To accomplish a goal on that.
That's one example that we're thinking of. That would be a cool idea.
That would be really fun.
But if you wanted to say do a solo, I would say, like, give us that perfect vision this time. Like, you have the technology now. We have this generation is getting so awesome with so much stuff we can do with like making an open world. Like, an open world Silent Hill would be really cool.
And almost, going back really quick to your point of the two characters at the same spot, the movie almost did that perfectly. You had Sean being the father looking for his wife in the school during the daytime, and she's running from friggin' Pyramid Head in that same school.
Yeah.
And they're almost in the same room together.
Right.
And the transition of what's happening to one character is completely different than...
Right. And I'm saying, like, if you decide to do the partnership, like, I'm not saying, like, this, like, if you end up co-op that your person can't... Well, I guess, like, let's say, for example, if Curtis and I were playing together and he sees something I can't see, but I can see maybe something that gives me an idea where it could be. Yep. So maybe, like, either I see footsteps on the ground or I see stuff, I see, like, papers flying, like, okay, he's over there. Something where I can help him out, because it wouldn't be fun if you go and see it and I can't do anything about it.
What is funny, you know what I mean? Too, is, like, I'd see a door and it's locked and it's, like, covered up. And I can't get out because I'm running for my life.
Right.
It's like, Jeremy, open the door right now. You've got to unlock that door.
Right.
And you, like, unlock it, and in Silent Hill, the door just flings open.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah. So stuff like that, or just, like, like Curtis says, and Evil Within did a good job where, like, one time you're running down a hall and the moment you turn around, there's a door in front of you. This stuff more psychological, and because Silent Hill, I think, are the ones that are like the influence of that stuff. And so, but with that, that's basically the it of this episode. I want to thank everybody for coming on to listen. This was the most interesting one, I think, out of all of them, because we're getting two creatures that are not the stars, but became legends among the horror genre of this. And it's funny you mentioned Dead Space, because that game, I think Resident Evil is a huge influence of Dead Space because of the weirdest creatures and giant creatures chasing after you. I think Silent Hill was influenced of Dead Space because you heard random noises and you didn't know where it was going
Your
on.
sanity, as Isaac declined heavily.
And you as a person become a little bit insane in your head, because because when you have to be a savior of a horrifying world, you're going to go insane yourself. And you have to hold that. And that's why, like, companionship is very important in that game, because you need someone to help you comfort to get through this horrified struggle. So Tyrants and Pyramid Head are very influenced. I think they are something that we really look past them, even though they don't really make a huge appearance in these games. Like, yes, you see a Tyrant, but they're not the main goal of the games, but they're just there. But they're there to keep you on your toes. That's mainly what they're there for. They're always there to keep on your toes, because some you can't destroy, and some they're just in your mind. So you just don't know. But if you know any creatures that are horrifying, we'd love to hear your input. So it's real easy. All you have to do is just email us at ingameoffice@gmail.com. We'll definitely post up some pictures of them, so you can kind of give us your opinion of, like, who do you like better? Who do you prefer? Who scared you more? We did it. I've been trying to do that with other characters, like, with Shinobi and Ninja Gaiden, just trying to put them out there to get some inputs on us. But remember, you can always hear us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, YouTube, and we would just love to hear your influence. But that's not it. We have a lot more rival characters on the way, but it doesn't mean you can't go backwards. We got a lot of fun characters that we recently did. We did Dante and Bayonetta. We did
Princess Peach and Zelda.
No, we did Snake and Sam Fisher. We did Mario and Sonic, of course. We did Dr. Robotnik and Bowser. And, and also in our last episode, we did
Jack and Dexter
and Ratchet and Clank. And so, be ready, because we got a lot more for you before we hit that finale. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode.
See ya.